it would be hard to find any nation that would have accepted such a monstrous imposition. But the Arabs, for reasons that have already been cited, were more unfitted to the task than most. Their very ignorance and naivety in the face of the challenge of Zionism was probably the most important factor that enabled the Israeli project to survive and even thrive in the region. Now, it was very much in order to explain this, but not just this aspect, but also the damage that Israel inflicted on the Arab world. It is customary to talk about the damage inflicted on the Palestinians. And of course, there's no doubt these were the immediate victims of the Israeli project. But the frontline states suffered a very great deal as a result of the creation of Israel. And what I have done is I've taken trouble to and time and I've put in quite a lot of effort, and I hope you will find this interesting in talking about that particular, the damage done to the Arab world in so many different ways, not all of them obvious, by the way, by any means. And of course, my final reason for writing the book was to wonder about a solution. After all, we have here a problem really so difficult. Not difficult to understand, please, not difficult to understand, because for years I've heard this stuff about, oh, it's too complicated. It's not complicated. It's actually quite simple. What happened was quite simple. My point is that the problem now is so enormous because of the way that Israel was allowed to develop, to expand, the way that Israel was indulged by the Western world in order to become the supremacist state that it is, the very strong state that it is, with the huge army that it has. This is one hell of a problem. So how do you solve it? Now, I've discussed throughout the book, and I've gone into, at length, into the questions of what solutions have been offered, why they didn't work, etc. And I have drawn, as a result of this, the conclusion that only one solution would ever solve all this. And what I very much wanted was that I would take my reader along with me through as the story unfolds, so that by the time we end, the reader is quite clear that there really is only one solution. Now, the fact that that solution is not one that I have a blueprint for, I don't have a practical manual to tell you how to do it, makes no difference in my view. It still remains the only possible logical solution to this atrocious tragedy, and the only way that you can begin to undo, begin to hope to reverse the enormous damage that the Zionist project did to the Arab world. It's no secret, of course, that that solution is the one-state solution, which is what I believe is the only way out of this. But of course, you will have to come to your own conclusions, and I hope that when you read the book, you will follow, certainly, I hope that the reasoning that I put forward for why we can only arrive at this conclusion, you will agree with me. I always like, in ending, to quote a wonderful story about Sherlock Holmes, who, when confronted by a very difficult problem, said to Dr. Watson, he said, look, when all possible explanations have been excluded, what remains, however improbable, must be the truth. And that, I think, is our situation with Israel-Palestine.